When you were doing your forecast, you did cite that some of the risks for 2012 might be that things are stronger, and clearly you dissented with the decision. Does that, first of all, what does that language about 2014? Is that a pledge? Is that a forecast? If you're a small business owner and you're looking to borrow, you say that is a promise.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was a little unhappy with about that language. And the 2013 language we introduced last August, same thing. So it's not an unconditional pledge. I think that's clear because everyone recognizes on the committee and I think more broadly that if things change materially, if growth picks up dramatically and we need higher real interest rates, if inflation pressures emerge that we need to resist, that we could change path and raise rates before then. I think everyone recognizes that. So does this mean that policy is going to be easier than it otherwise would have been? I'm not so sure, and it's not that clear. One of the things we did in that meeting, after that meeting, was release for the first time individual members' forecasts of interest rates going forward. And you can see there's a divergence of views about when people think it's most likely that we're going to raise interest rates the first time.
Do all these new communication tools and policies and forecasts tie your hands more than when you had less language in there?
Yeah,
so it's more transparent, but does it lock you in a way
that's an interesting dilemma. And the people who argue against more transparency are the ones who argue for more discretion. But I think it can be liberating. I think that more information's better. I think the more people understand about your intentions, the better. The more they understand how you're likely to react to incoming events, the better. And that's why I think it's really important that we also, at that meeting, adopted, we've been calling it internally a consensus statement about our objectives, our longer-run goals and objectives for monetary policy. It stated very clearly that we want inflation to be 2% on average over the medium term. And that's the first time we've gone on record with a numerical committee-decided objective. And we discussed how unemployment relates to our objective and highlighted the fact that as a central bank, we can't control the unemployment rate. We can mess it up. We can make it higher than it otherwise would be. But we have only limited tools and a limited ability to make it any lower than it otherwise would be. Employment over time is governed by things like productivity growth, capital formation, preferences. People have government tax
policy. The real economy, not Fed policy.
Exactly, real economy. And that's not our responsibility. Our responsibility is for keeping inflation low and stable.
There have been people lately, and the voices are getting louder. There was an editorial this week from Charles Schwab, even some Fed members, that the Fed is actually doing more harm. The fact that it has these unconventional measures still in place, and it seems like it's still in emergency mode, that it's doing more harm to the economy, that's hurting confidence. What do you say to that?
I don't think so. I don't see it that way right now. We have these emergency measures in place. We have an exceptionally large balance sheet. The way I think of it is we're supplying an exceptionally large amount of reserves to the banking system. And in normal times, that could well be inflationary. So far, the private sector has matched our increase in supply with an increased demand and willingness to hold those. The lending opportunities aren't there for them to lend dramatically and expand the money supply and ignite inflation. But should those opportunities arise, should we not contract the supply of money at the right time, then it could be just throwing a match in a pile of tinder, and we could set off inflation.